I would like to continue to show you some games from this book because I believe they are fundamental in creating us as chess player. The game today is between Pomar, Gligoric and Pomar, and it was played in Nice in 1974 at the Olympiad. By the way, one day, when I have time, I will also show you this book, the 1974 World Chess Olympiad. It's really a beautiful book. Unfortunately, it's still in descriptive notation, so I think some of these books should be translated in algebraic, because algebraic is a little easier for us, modern chess player. D4, knight f6. So we are seeing a game that is similar to the one of Botvinnik and that ends up in a similar manner. c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4. So this is an Inso-Indian, is not a queen's gambit like before, okay? e3, castle, bishop d3, d5, knight f3, c5, castle, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, knight c6. As you can see, the position is very similar to the one we saw in the Queen's Gambit, with the difference that the bishop is not here but is there. This pawn is still here at the moment. But there is still the problem of this, right? You have a problem to solve, because this is the opening. You need to develop all your pieces. Here it says, in later years, other lines gain favor. Black usually fianchetto his queen bishop before developing the knight, or opted for bishop d7. So, before doing this, he did this, or before doing this, he did this, with the idea probably going there. So, let's see what happens now. After knight c6, bishop d3, and bishop d7, a3, c takes d4, e takes d4, and now bishop e7. So we have practically the position that we have seen in the game Botvinnik-Vidmar, right? A very similar position. Now, don't take me wrong, obviously it's not the same position, but as you can see, the ideas are very similar, right? But this bishop is here and not on this diagonal. So let's see how Gligoric plays this game. Rook e1 and rook c8. A glance at the position will be sufficient for an experienced observer to conclude that black's queenside pieces are unnaturally placed against the menacing central thrust. The bishop is passively posted on d7, the c6 knight is exposed to d5, and no serious steps have been taken against the basic threat. So this is kind of very interesting, because Pomar was a very experienced grandmaster, right? So can you imagine a grandmaster that has this kind of problem by move 12? The same grandmasters that generally write opening courses, right? Opening repertoire courses for us. Sorry, but some things are funny. How does white continue here? If you were Gligoric, what would you play? Try to pause the video for a few minutes and decide, okay? Bishop b1. This introduces the standard procedure of forcing a weakening of black's queen-king side by queen d3. And notice how useful is this, because black cannot play knight b4, right? However, this is not the only idea behind Grigorich's excellent move. So, bishop b1 is not only excellent for this idea, but I believe, and I didn't see this game, I admit, I didn't see this game, but from the example that we had from Botwinic, we must understand that this is a possibility, right? So, as you can see, studying completed annotated games gives you a lot of ideas for your own games. In this case, a strategic maneuver. White, the bishop goes there, because then you want maybe that kind of attack, right? Okay, let's see how it continues. Rook e8, queen d3. And now black plays g6, that obviously weaken the dark squares, but there is still this bishop, so it depends if white is able to actually exploit it. Now, however, if you are white, what would you do? Because as you can see, this maneuver is over, right? You are not going to really be able to give checkmate on h7. You need to do something else. What do you do? And this is what I just told you. He played bishop a2. Fantastic, right? So as you can see, we saw the game Botwinic-Widmer, and we learn, or at least I learned immediately, that that was the thing to do. And this thing was kind of interesting, to tell you the truth. This thing was kind of interesting. Here it says, Pomar's passive position is not prepared for the obvious breakthrough in the center. So let's remember, if you have the isolated queen pawn, you want to push it. If you are the side that is playing against, you try generally to block it. But here you are not working well in about blocking. Okay? So let's see what happens. Black plays a6 and white continues with bishop h6. This is a very good move, not because it attacks this f8 and prevent black from going there, but because it allows this to enter into the game if needed. Okay? Here, black played queen a5, and here it says, against white's clear-cut plan, the black pieces are grouped in the center, with no sense of imminent danger. Even Pomar's last move comes a step too late. So, what does white play here? What does white play here? We remember that in the previous game, white removed this pawn because he needs access to this, right, to f7. So the move is d5, okay? Because after e takes d5, knight takes d5, okay? Obviously, is ready to attack f7. Here, black played bishop f5, okay, and it says, here it says clearly, after knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, the f7 pawn would become a target. But the test move leads to a quick debacle. So this it seems the losing move, but unfortunately the problem was that the knight f6 was going out of business, and d7 wouldn't be protected, right? So here, if you are white, what would you play? Try to think a few minutes and decide what would you play. It's a critical moment in the game, obviously. White played rook takes e7. Obviously, in order to play this move, you need to calculate what happens after bishop takes d3, which I will not tell you, because I think you need to do your own homework here. and otherwise you are not going to improve as a player. In the book is explained, okay? But I don't want to show that line because, again, I think you should have thought and found out why. The game continues with rook takes e7, and here obviously the game ends in a few moves because knight takes f6, king h8, queen d2, obviously going out of the way, bishop e6, knight d5, queen takes d2, and here is interesting. Knight takes d2, okay, yeah. Bishop takes d2, bishop takes d5, bishop c3, and now you can see the weakness of the dark squares, especially because white now has the bishop pair. Okay, king g8, bishop takes d5, rook d7, bishop takes e6, b takes e6, knight e5, rook d8, king f1, h5, rook e1, rook d5, and here the game ends after knight takes e6. Obviously you cannot take. Why? Because if you take, there is check, and this is why you need to study your checkmates, right? You cannot go here because of this, you can only go here, and this is checkmate. I hope you enjoyed this game and the lesson which came with it. Eventually try to get this book because I believe it's a must read for your improvement in chess. Thank you.